Good morning, this is Krishna McKenzie bringing you a road back to nature. Sorry, I've been away for a little while, had a little accident, and now I'm back in full power. Amazing things are happening in Auroville. So many garden projects are popping up and people having their harvests. So yesterday, Kalsang and Namgal from the Tibetan pavilion brought me 2 huge bottle gourds and a big bundle of beans and 5 or 6 cucumbers as an act of appreciation for the work that we'd done to help them get started. And they've been sharing with so many people the produce from that garden and, of course, eating it themselves. The same in creativity. Alok's garden is happening. Stefano from the radio has been eating pumpkins anyway since God knows how long. And, you know, this is the point of permaculture. That's really the whole point. You have to have a yield. If you don't have a yield, it's just talk. And that's really inspiring. Having said that, there are still many plants that grow very easily that we don't value and we don't understand. And that we have lost the relationship with those plants in our culture. For example, the turkey berry. The other day in a workshop, this turkey berry is called wild brinjal. In Hindi, it's called jangli bangan, or I think it's called eggplant pea as well. And it's slightly bitter, has very high medicinal values, and is actually very delicious if it's cooked in the right way. So the other day, for my my regular road back to nature workshop, we just researched collectively. So it wasn't just told how to do it, but we actually did it with the group, how to cook it. And the first thing they understood is that they had to smash it and then wash it. So then the seeds come out, because the seeds are a bit too bitter. So a little bit the seeds removed. It's not that you remove them clinically like in a hospital. It's just to remove a percentage of them to reduce the bitterness. Then boil it for about 5 minutes. Then we fried them with onions, garlic, ginger, chilies, the usual suspects. And then we grated in a little bit of plantain. And that made it slightly, that offset the bitterness. The plantain is slightly sweet. And we added a little coconut. And it was spectacular. Absolutely delicious. But still the challenge is, how do we bring that into the diet of our society, our community, Auroville? So when we start valuing those plants, we see that we didn't even have to grow anything. It's just growing on its own. And to understand that, I think understanding the philosophy behind natural farming is very, very helpful to understand how we have to move in that direction. So this morning I thought to share with you a chapter from the book, The One Straw Revolution. And here I have the copy that Fukuoka signed himself for me. So Masanobu Fukuoka is the Japanese Zen master farmer who wrote The One Straw Revolution and who inspired all my work and I think many people involved in this alternative sort of approach to agriculture. And this, of course, you can't see it in the radio. Maybe Stefan will take a photo of it and post it. But it's a picture of a guy lying under it's Fukuoka did these beautiful caricatures. So it's sort of like healthy, bellied guy with the fruits falling from the tree into his mouth. And next to him, there's a character looks like he's very engaged in action. And I think, and on the next page, there's the ideogram of mu. Mu means nothingness. And then underneath that, there's a picture of someone holding fruits. Or holding sort of, I think it represents the bounty of Mother Nature. So basically it says, lie under a tree and don't do anything and let the fruits of nature fall in your mouth rather than run around like a fool thinking you're achieving something. that leads us to the ideogram of nothingness, which is the bounty of Mother Nature, because Mother Nature has no concept of more or less, or economics, or, bad or good, north or south. Those are all concepts of the mind. Happiness or sadness, grief, loss or gain. Nature is in this space of nothingness, and hopefully you can see that picture. So I'm going to read you this chapter. This is called "Who is the Fool?" It is said that there is no creature as wise as the human being. By applying this wisdom, people have become the only animals capable of nuclear war. The other day, the head of the natural food store in front of Osaka Station climbed the mountain, bringing along 7 companions like the 7 gods of good fortune. At noon, while feasting on an impromptu brown rice hodgepodge, one of them told the following: "Among children, there is always one without a care in the world, who always laughs happily as he pees. There is another who always ends up playing the horse when playing horse and rider. And there is always a third who is clever at tricking the others out of their afternoon snack. Before the head of the class is chosen, the teacher talks seriously about the desirable qualities of a good leader and the importance of making a wise decision. When the election is held, it is the youngster who laughs happily by the side of the road who is chosen." Everyone was amused, but I couldn't understand why they were laughing. I thought it was only natural. If things are seen in terms of gain and loss, one must regard as the loser the child who always ends up playing the role of the horse. But greatness and mediocrity do not apply to children. The teacher thought the clever child was the most remarkable, but the other children saw him as being clever in the wrong way, someone who would oppress other children. To think that the one who is smart and can look out for himself is exceptional, and that it is better to be exceptional, is to follow adult values. The one who goes about his own business, eats and sleeps well, the one with nothing to worry about, would seem to me to be living in the most satisfactory manner. There is no one so great as the one who does not try to accomplish anything. In Aesop's fable, when the frogs asked God for a king, he presented them with a log. The frogs made fun of the dumb log, and when they asked the god for a greater king, he sent down a crane. As the story goes, the crane pecked all the frogs to death. If the one who stands out in front is great, the ones who follow behind have to struggle and strain. If you set a regular fellow up in front, those who come after have an easy time. People think that someone who is strong and clever is outstanding, and so they select a prime minister who pulls the country like a diesel locomotive. What kind of person should be chosen for prime minister? A dumb log, I replied. There's nobody better than Daruma-san. Daruma-san, this is in parentheses, is a Japanese doll that has a curved base, and when you push him, he rolls over and rolls over and rolls back up, stands back up, a bit like these sort of Russian dolls. There is no one better than Daruma-san. He's such a relaxed fellow. He can sit for years in meditation without saying a word. If you give him a shove, he rolls over. But with the persistence of non-resistance, he always sits back up. Daruma-san doesn't just sit idly by, keeping his hands and feet folded, knowing that you should keep them folded. He scowls silently at the people who want to stick theirs out. If you did nothing at all, the world could not keep running. What would the world be without development? Why do you have to develop? If economic growth rises from 5% to 10%, is happiness going to double? What's wrong with a growth rate of 0%? Isn't this a rather stable kind of economics? Could there be anything better than living simply and taking it easy? People find something out, learn how it works, and put nature to use, thinking this will be for the good of humankind. The result of all this, up to now, is that the planet has become polluted, people have become confused, and we have invited in the chaos of modern times. At this farm, we practice do-nothing farming and eat wholesome and delicious grains, vegetables and citrus. There is meaning and basic satisfaction just in living close to the source of things. Life is song and poetry. The farmer became too busy when people began to investigate the world and decided that it would be good if we did this or did that. All my research has been in the direction of not doing this or that. These 30 years have taught me that farmers would have been better off doing almost nothing at all. The more people do, the more society develops, the more problems arise, the increasing desolation of nature, the exhaustion of resources, the uneasiness and disintegration of the human spirit, all have been brought about by humanity's trying to accomplish something. Originally, there was no reason to progress and nothing that had to be done. We have come to the point at which there is no other way than to bring about a movement, not to bring anything about. That is the chapter Who is a Fool on page 156 of the One Straw Revolution. We have a beautiful bookshop in Auroville. Well, we have a few of them, but this one is called the Freeland Bookshop, and it stocks this book, and I strongly recommend you can get it. If you're interested in natural farming, it's not about techniques. Of course, techniques are important, but techniques will change according to topography, climate, even demographics define techniques. But I think a deep philosophical understanding is really at the heart of practicing permaculture and natural farming. Not a philosophy that's just blah, 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 but something that expresses itself in understanding that nature is unmoving and really is a divinity. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to meeting you next week.
நம்பாதே காக்கை குயிலாயாகாதே தோழா தாடிகள் எல்லாம் தாகூரா மீசைகள் எல்லாம் பாரதியா வேஷத்தில் ஏமாறாதே தோழா நம் மடியினில் கனம் இல்லையே மனம் தனில் கரை இல்லையே நினைத்தது முடியும் வரை கண்ணை கட்டிக் கொள்ளாதே கண்டதையெல்லாம் நம்பாதே காக்கை குயிலாய் ஆகாதே தோழா தாடிகள் எல்லாம் தாகூரா மீசைகள் எல்லாம் பாரதியா வேஷத்தில் ஏமாறாதே தோழா விடுதலை 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 தோழா என் பக்கம், செடிகள் கொடிகள் என் பக்கம், ஏழை தமிழர் என் பக்கம், என்றும் தாய் குலம் என் பக்கம், எட்டு திசையும் என் பக்கம். அடக்கலங்காதே, கோழை மட்டுமே கத்தி எடுப்பான், வீரன் மட்டும் சத்தியத்தை நம்புவானே. ஏழை வர்க்கம் தான் இணைந்து விட்டால் கொடிகளும் கோட்டையும் நொடியினில் மாறிவிடும். கண்ணை கட்டி கொள்ளாதே, கண்டது எல்லாம் நம்பாதே, காக்கை குயிலாகாதே தோழா. தாடிகள் எல்லாம் தாகூரா, மீசைகள் எல்லாம் பாரதியா, வேஷத்தில் ஏமாறாதே தோழா. சொல்லாதே, நான் வீழ்வேன் என்று எண்ணாதே, தங்க காசை வீசுவதால் தர்மம் கையை ஏந்தாதே. வெள்ளி மழை சிந்தும் மழை மேகம் விளம்பரம் கொடுத்தால் பொழியாது, மக்கள் சக்தி காசுக்கு வளையாது, அடப்பணியாது. விடி வெள்ளிதான் முளைக்கும் வரை இருள் மட்டும் ஆட்சியில் இருக்கும் அடா. கிழக்கு முகம் வெளுத்து விட்டால் இருளுக்கு முடிவுண்டு, எங்களுக்கு விடிவுண்டு. கண்ணை கட்டிக் கொள்ளாதே, கண்டதையெல்லாம் நம்பாதே, காக்கை குயிலாயாகாதே தோழா. தாடிகள் எல்லாம் தாகூரா, மீசைகள் எல்லாம் பாரதியா, வேஷத்தில் ஏமாறாதே தோழா. நம் மடியினில் கனம் இல்லையே, மனம் தானில் கரை இல்லையே, நினைத்தது முடியும் வரே.
நீங்கள் கேட்டுக்கொண்டிருப்பது ஆரோவில் ரேடியோ.